Astrology has been on Earth, as far as we know, for at least 3,000 years. Kings used to make decisions due to astrology. Wars were being taken care by astrology. JP Morgan said, millionaires don't need astrology. Billionaires do.
So, welcome to School of Shamanism. My name is Giada Gaslini, and this is the season Walking in Between Worlds. And today I've got the pleasure to have with me Paulo da Costa, holistic coach. Thanks so much, Paulo, for accepting my invitation. And I'm really excited because we come from the same background. So, we were walking in a lot in between different or two worlds in general. So I'm asking you to let us know and share a little bit your story about yourself and also what are the two worlds that you're walking in between.
Good morning, Giada. First and foremost, thank you so much for having me on board. I know Giada for a good couple of years, and we're pretty much on the same boat, just different countries, but the same boat. And my story, it is a long story. I was born in Portugal many years ago, not relevant. And and back then I was educated with a typical Portuguese slash Mediterranean in a typical Mediterranean way. My parents, lovely, hardworking people, but they were very grabby. So they tried to do everything to protect me, especially coming from that jet generation. And around when I was 13 years old, I started having this vomiting nonstop, extreme pain, feeling nauseous, and this happened to me like once a month. It come in a crescendo. First week is okay, second week my stomach start not feeling great. Third week, that's when I could hardly do anything, and then it would explode. I would vomit for hours. I would lose loss of kilos, and I've been to all types of different doctors. And all types of these doctors have done all types of exams. Nobody could pinpoint. I didn't have anything in the stomach. Nothing was appearing. And this was quite debilitating, especially for somebody that was a teenager, teenager, young, we're full of life, but that life's kind of drained from you. And after many years, around when I was 20, so this happened when 13, around 21, 22, after going to all types of doctors, and I was a very skeptical person. I started looking at different options, start studying different things in order to try to find an answer, because when there's something in your health and you don't have the answer for, it's just the powerlessness is just unbelievable. And then I started thinking about different, start reading a bit about hypnotherapy, which at the time I thought this is nonsense. Start reading a bit about astrology, which at the time I thought nonsense. And it gave me some ideas, but still my stomach issues continued. And when I was around 20, and by the way, 21, I finished university and I started working in media and advertising. Media and advertising was very stressful. It was all about deadlines. It was all about making sure that the client's needs were okay. And in Portugal, Spain, and Italy, I presume, when people say it's 9 to 5, you don't start it's 9 to 5. It's nine till whatever time it is, six, seven,
Midnight.
eight.
Midnight.
And people expect that. So there was like this ongoing constant pressure that I was already having in my life for my early 20s. And during that time, I went then to my first astrology appointment. This was because I did not have any answer from anything else. My mom was watching one of those, afternoon day TV shows and said, "Oh, there is this woman that favors this guy that does astrology." And I'm just thinking, I read a little bit. I'm not sure if it works. What's the worst thing that can happen? So I entered, and there was like this lovely chap, Antonio. Like he was quite a strong chap, but with this big smile. And I'm just thinking, I don't know what you're gonna say, but he then I sat and he opened me and read me like a book. And that's when my jaw dropped and just telling me lots of things about myself, lots of things that I wasn't even aware things that I would never tell anyone. And at the end of the session, he said, Paulo, I want you to be my student. And I was like, really? Okay. And by that time, I was working full time. And for me, because my life was like a roller coaster, from the first week being okay till the fourth week of being in chaos, and then recovering, and then going back again, it was hard for me to do things that people could do normally. Meaning, I was working, and I still attended the course of astrology, but it was hard because I was always full of up and downs. And as I attended the course of astrology, like a new world start to emerge. Even, although then I was still skeptical. I was still skeptical of what was going on, but I studied it. And my teacher used to say that I wasn't the most technical student, but I was the most intuitive one, because intuition was always strong within me. But for many years, I kept on denying it, just like you do. Like sometimes the matrix, and I'm going to use the term matrix here, tries to
Yeah.
pull you down, tries to get you to rationality. And around that same time was when something very interesting happened as well. My mother was also watching one of those TV shows, and there was this guy. He used to do regressions, past life regressions, and I read about it. I read about the regression, because the theme was when I went to a tea room, and there was like this lady, and this lady, she owned a tea room, and she had gypsy blood at the time. And she was just telling me about very interesting aspect that happened with my parents. I'm not sure if this is going to be beneficial for you, but my parents are first degree cousins,
Mm-hmm.
which and as we were talking, she was a very knowledgeable person. She was talking to say she used to do breeding of dogs, Rottweilers, and she said the best specimens were the ones that were crossbreed, but also were the ones that came with more problems. And in her tradition, she used to say that the firstborn from the firstborn from this mix, they used to have something of wit, like wizard slash witch in them, which for me, I'm just like, oh, that's funny, but I never really paid that much attention. And at that time, she advised me this book from Edith Fiore called We've Been Here Before. That
Mm-hmm.
was the first book I read about regression and past life. Once again, I was skeptical. I was skeptical about the whole thing, but I decided to go to a hypnotherapist.
Yeah, but it's funny that it was your mom to introducing that and the presence of TV. Well, I've seen that on TV, and then you were following a course. I've seen that one on TV, and then following the course, just starting from a non from an element of, I mean, I wouldn't say synchronicities, but of course we wouldn't think normally, especially in our countries, that our mom would be the starting point of what we have become.
Yes, that is absolutely true. And if you think about it, the type of themes that go in those afternoon shows are not themes that go into the prime time, the main, because these are themes that are ridiculed. These are themes that people say, oh, it's like a freak show. People tend to see it
Mhm.
like a freak show. And I used to when I was at the beginning, but life opened me. Life has beaten me up in such a way that I needed to look elsewhere. And I found some of the answers, the majority of the answers elsewhere. Because if you think about astrology, astrology has been on Earth, as far as we know, for at least 3,000 years. Kings used to make decisions due to astrology. Wars were being taken care by astrology. JP Morgan said, millionaires don't need astrology. Billionaires do. And in the last 150, 200 years, astrology has been a theme of mockery. People tend to mock
Mhm.
because people don't understand. I was like that. And even sometimes, of course, you can, just like any professional, you can take it as far, you can take it as seriously or not seriously, let's put it that way, as you want. And unfortunately, there's a lot of people that don't take it seriously. It's like an Instagram reel, and that pisses me off, to be honest.
Yeah.
But each one go through their own path, and it's just the way that life is. I used to be one of like that, so I can't really say much about it.
Absolutely. But if I have to just interrupt in your story for a few seconds, if we need just to chant people, because of course people have some ideas of astrology, what we used to read in magazine, now that we read in Google, whatever is just a light touch and superficial element, what would be, let's say, a game changer in letting people understand how deep and how serious this science is and this discipline is?
I think
To let them understand there is much more than what you think.
I think it has to do with two things. It could be the experiential and open-mindedness. The problem is that I only did this because it was just a matter of survival. The majority of people, they don't need to do this and they fight because we're being formatted in certain ways. We have been, these are the rules, and if you go outside of the rules, people will point fingers at you. So how to be able to do this? Give it a try. If it's not for you, it's not for you. Not everything is for anyone. And be open-minded. Because when you're in a place and everybody goes through grief, everybody goes through pain, everybody goes through all of these crazy, hard experiences. And we sometimes are not open enough to say, okay, I'm gonna give it a try. And I think that being able to have that open mindedness is something that is important. For example, I was delivering a workshop, just a presentation for some training that I do called Trainer Trainer, and I did a brief presentation about the elements of astrology because I had 10 minutes. There's not that I can't even go doing one star sign. It's just like a brief thing. And the majority of people, they felt the resistance. It's like, oh, I'm not really sure about that until I start pointing each one out. And due to knowing their star signs or having an idea of what's a star sign and following my intuition, I start telling them things that they were just like, oh, this actually makes a lot of sense. Because astrology is about being finding the experiment part, as in, because otherwise there will only be 12 types of people because there's only 12 star signs. And a natal chart, which I will talk going further, is there are hundreds of millions of possible combinations. And it's a chart, it's a map. And in a map, you can go wherever your fuel takes you. It's something that I will mention going further, but just try. Just try, go listen to things, go to a workshop, listen more, be open. Regardless if it's for you, it's not for you, just be open, especially when you go through grief, because we tend to close ourselves when you experience grief, when you experience pain, because our mind needs to be cracked in certain ways to let things coming in. And for me, this cracking, let's put it that way, it was through pain over and over and over and over, which that gave me no choice. I don't want people, and to be honest, the majority of my clients, if not all of them, they come to me when the proverbial poo hit the fan. Let's call it that way. It should hit the fan. That's when people come to me because they can't find answers anywhere. And I'm not going to give them the answer. I'm just going to give them possibilities and allow them to show the different paths. But only people go through that stage. So my advice, try it, be open. If it's not for you, it's not for you. And don't be afraid of being ridiculed because people have a lot of they're very fearful what other people think of them. And as Taoism, they used to say the one who cares about other people's opinions becomes their prisoner. And this was a lesson that for me, being a Libra in many other aspects, was very hard to learn. So try it, be open, don't be afraid of really good. But
Exactly. And maybe
it,
try more than one things, because if the first approach, we don't know what they are going to try and come across.
That's exactly it. That's exactly it. As I will be able to say later on, I've done not only astrology, hypnotherapy, but all types of other things. But going back to hypnotherapy, so I went to this gentleman that he was doing the hypnotherapy session, and basically at this time he started straight through with regression, past life regression. First, let me explain a bit of what hypnotherapy is and how regression fits in. So if you think we have around 5 to 10%, don't quote me on percentages, but of what we experience is conscious. And there is 95% of everything that we are. So if you think about the 5% here, 95% of what we are is unconscious. And we normally don't tend to have access. For example, the fact that I'm speaking English at the moment, or even if I speak Portuguese, or anything that is learned behavior, it's in this 95%. When you drive a car and you're driving the car and you're getting the gears in, turning, getting the indicator, all of that, you don't think that is already learned behavior. And this is in this 95%.
Yeah.
So this happened with that type of learning. Then there's also learning of traumas. When, for example, when we are children, or when in our development years, or between 0 and 9, our brain is like a sieve. Everything goes through. We are very open, and by that time, we also have a lot of memories that are imagination. Let's call it imagination. But during that time, let's say that you are a child and you go to a party and there's a clown. Clown is a classic.
Yes, we all had that.
There's a clown that scares you because your mind is developing. Your mind, in order to try to protect you, is just saying, "Oh, clown equals danger, equals danger." So that kid retains that memory, gets it as learned behavior. When I say the clown, I can mean any other type of trauma, gets that learned behavior into here. And once he gets it into here, when that child grows up, that adult is afraid of clowns. But that's not really an adult. That's the children's memory that is afraid of clowns because the mind told him, be afraid of clowns because clown equal danger. And you think, okay, it doesn't make any sense. You're a grown up, you should know better. Yeah, but that memory from that child's still there. Right. What does regressive hypnosis? There's different types of hypnosis. Let's start with regressive hypnosis. Thus, is that let's say that I have clients that come to me with traumas and they don't know what the trauma is. And the way that our brain tends to organize things is through emotions, right? And let's say that the fact that adult is afraid of clowns is through fear. So what I do, I go here and I relax the person up to a certain stage, which is, I think it's called alpha or theta stage. I think it's alpha stage, that you get them to relax into this hypnosis stage. Right. And people say, oh, being hypnotized is something that happens daily. That state of theta happen or alpha or theta, not really sure. That state happens the 5 seconds after you wake up when you're kind of groggy, and the 5 seconds before you go to sleep. You go like, ugh. So, but imagine expanding those 5 seconds to bigger space of time, opening this gate. And this is where me as a therapist come in, and I'll be able to say, okay, let's pick up fear, which is the main emotion that brings you down, and your fear to clowns. What the brain does is just goes there, picks up that memory, brings it to awareness, because the majority of things we don't remember, it's bring them to awareness
Yeah.
and reframe it. You reframe that stage and then you put it back in. During when this is open, of course, and you say, will this immediately do something? It will open up, but you need to put on the work, just like anything in life. You need to reframe it. You need to try it. But hypnotherapy is like you enter into a room that has the lights off and you don't see anything. If you don't see anything, people tend to be afraid of what they don't know. And when people are afraid of what they don't know, everything is dangerous. So
Exactly.
when you turn on the light and you understand, oh, there's a chair, there's a table, please don't go there, you can navigate. And this is what hypnotherapy does, being able to reframe. This is just a regressive part, going to get memories. Also, from another part, from a more clinical aspect, what it does is it also changes the beliefs that we have. These beliefs that are learned beliefs here. You don't necessarily need to go to the past. Try to bring them back and try to reframe them with this open-mindedness, let's put it that way, and try to be able to say, let's take a look at this, what is a problem, and really look at it, because people tend to have different vision of things according to our own experience. So there's the clinical part. The regressive is about getting something from the past that affects us. And this is a big caveat. Do not go to the past unless you need to. And this is very
Mhm.
important because I had people say, "Oh, I want to do a regression," and I just like, this is not advisable for you. You first need to take a look of things, and then if you
Yeah.
cannot really solve it, then you go to the past.
Yeah, because people come into the session already pretending that they are already know what they have to do. It's just like also in the shamanic sessions and then a practitioner as well. When they come to you, say, "I want to do a soul retrieval." How do you know that you need a soul retrieval? 100% of the time is true because we all need a soul retrieval, but don't just come with that assumption that you know what it is and what you need.
Absolutely, absolutely. And then once you then if you need to go the regression, then there is I wouldn't say like not going for percentages, that many of my clients, they sometimes, if they need to go do a regression, they normally only tend to go to those formative years that I've mentioned between 0 and 9 or before. But what I tend them to do, sometimes you need to ease them into it, is that you go back because from 0 till, let's say, 30, I'm going to go for 30 because I'm not going to disclose my age at the moment. I will disclose it later. But 0 till
Please.
30, which is I'm 30 years old, I'm 30 years old. Uh, from 0 till 30, people have gone through grief,
Mhm.
right? And sometimes you kind of have to let them ease and just like slowly go back, and people go to a traumatic experience that they have at 25, not as it's traumatic, but normally don't tend to be as traumatic as before. And then you slowly ease them into those formative years. That's when sometimes it carries a bit of heavier weight. And during that time, you can bring those memories up here, reframe them and help them. And also with coaching and with all different types of tools, then you start working on those memories. So it's not like saying, oh, you do a hypnotherapy session and it's solved. Same thing as saying, you go once to the gym and you look like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah,
It's just no.
exactly.
So this is the regressive part. Now, Giada, how deep do you want to go with this?
Up to you. We got the whole stage.
I got the whole
Up to
stage. Okay,
you.
so I'll just keep
Digging
talking.
into the more and more invisible world, which is the part also that we are working in, constantly traveling, in between visible and invisible. So before then you continue, I'm just going to ask you now. You mean you are beautifully and greatly working in the invisible world? For what people, the majority of people consider an invisible world, what they can't see, where there are fears, where there is the inner darkness and the shadows. When you explore a world, probably like it was in the old philosophical times, it was just like when there was all the topics between what is finite or infinite, when there was also let's say, how Hegel summarized what Fichte and Schelling were doing. And he used to say, the more you know, the more the unknown become known. And so it's never a fixed element, a fixed border, because it's ongoing. The border is expanding. So the more you dig into the invisible world, how much do you feel that you are able to, let's say, be comfortable within the invisible, and how much still do you think it's still invisible to you?
I still have a lot to learn, let's put it that way. And the more I learn, the less I know. And I used to be a know-it-all. I used to be a smart arse know-it-all. And right now I just like, no, I'm open to all possibilities because once you start feeling a bit more comfortable with uncertainty, because human beings are full of certainty. Lots of human beings are full of certainty. And that's what this certainty is. That's what causes illness. That's what causes wars. That's what causes fighting, all of those things. And I'm aware that I don't know 0.00001% of the world. I'm aware of that. And the more you get into it, the more comfortable you feel with that uncertainty because life's all about waves. And the more that you ride that wave, the easier it is for you to settle in. Of course, there are going to be peaks in our life where you're going to feel sadness, and sometimes all of this, the pain makes it go out of the window. But the truth is that it's like, how far do you want to go down the rabbit hole? But the truth is that once you get into the rabbit hole, once you cross that line, you will never go back to what you were. You might always regress a little bit, but you never go back. And once the expression, once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Mhm.
So that makes me think I still have a lot to learn. I still have, I feel very good with what I already know. But if you tell me how much of astrology do you know, I probably say 1% from everything that's out there. 1%. How much of hypnotherapy? 1%. And I've been doing this for over 20 years. I've been doing this for over 20 years. And saying that is just that ability, as I spoke earlier on, about being open to knowledge, but also knowledge is pointless if it doesn't hit here, if it doesn't hit the heart, because otherwise it's just information. Otherwise, a machine, just like they're doing that, but it's up to the heart. And this is something that I learned in my shamanic practice. It's up to the heart to be able to say, does this resonate with you? Yes or no. But you can only do that if you're balanced. Otherwise, that intuition is going to go, ooh, it's going to go into places that you don't like. And this is about having that human ability to be able to feel with the heart and think with the mind, because the mind is very important. Don't say, oh, the ego is the enemy. The mind is very important because the mind asks questions. The heart answers questions. And it's just like the right side of the left side of the brain that controls the right hand is the one that is rational. Is the one. You remember when we are, for example, when we are, let me ask you, oh, do you remember that film that was Wolf of Wall Street? I don't remember the name. It's just like, what's the name of? And then you keep going. Your rational mind keeps going, just like a wheel on dirt, keeps going and going and going. And then you can't remember. Then you go and have a cup of coffee, or we're having a cup of coffee and suddenly, oh, it's Leonardo DiCaprio. Why? Because it's the creative mind that solves this part. And I think I've gone on tangents because if I answered your question, I've gone on tangents. That's what I do.
Opening up doors for exactly for answers that we could stay here for 3 hours
Or through
to,
easily.
to share, because of course they are the great and big questions of life, which is what's scaring people nowadays. People are not ready to commit, to make the effort, take the time and take the risk of that. And I keep seeing people quitting. There is the first challenge, first difficulty, and they quit. I'm not ready yet. You become ready by going. So, what is your advice that you can give people regarding that?
It's there is when you think about where you are. Think about if you're going through the pain. Think about that pain going through, and think about a wound, right? If a wound has a bandage on top, the wound won't heal. The bandage is there, it won't heal. But when you rip off the bandage, it's not pleasant. It's just like same thing. If you dive into this world, it's not going to be pleasant, but then it's going to be worse. And then if you keep going, I guarantee you that you won't be coming back. I can't guarantee you that life's going to be easy because life is not easy, but the way that you approach life will be different. So by keep going, and my advice is that don't let things go so badly that the faster you do it, the faster you go and try to discover yourself, the easier it's going to be. Because if you dive in so deep that you can't get out of there, and I had to hit that rock bottom to be able to come up, but now right now I don't hit that rock bottom because I know what it feels like. I go down, but I don't go down because I don't even call it courage, just the need for my own survival. But don't let life hit you so bad that you'll do things in despair.
Yeah,
Try to avoid that, but sometimes that's how human beings, well, the majority of times, is how human beings learn. Don't
yeah.
let it hit you so bad that you can't get out of there because it's not nice.
Exactly. And also try to analyze and don't hide yourself behind intuition. Intuition is saying it's not for me. Is it your intuition or your fear that is
Exactly.
blocking you? And
Exactly.
at the first challenge, people quit. And I see that constantly people working around me, working with me. And I always see that building the resilience these days is really hard. It's really hard. Probably compared to our times, probably compared to the times of our families, of our parents. It's becoming less and less and less. What do you think is the root of that?
The root of that is the distractions that we have around. Everything is immediate. Everything is here, and people feel that they don't have to work for it. People just click a button and it just appears. Now, this is where we can go deeper, but I'm not going to go as deep. Is that this type of easiness comes with a cost. It's just the same thing as you're preparing for a race. And in that, or I'm just say a race, like preparing for a race, and you're gonna do like a half marathon. If you wake up every day and go for runs every day and you get to the half marathon, you complete it. Now, by the way, I'm not a runner, so also, but if you stay sitting on your couch, eating ice cream, watching TV, you go for the race, you hardly hit, you can't finish it because your body's not used to it. And we have to train our bodies, we have to train our minds. But I'm not saying this an excuse, but it's hard when you're running down the hamster wheel, chasing your tail and just going over and over. You don't have time. You have bills to pay. You have all of these things to do. And it's hard work. Nobody said it's going to be hard work. But I tell you, once you go in, you won't come back. And sometimes we all have waves, and it's just about surfing. It's just about surfing that wave. So, my advice, be understandful of easiness, because also people mistake easiness for kindness. Easiness and kindness are two different things. Easiness is kindness is being to listen to your body, to listen to who you are, to listen to what you think. Easiness is the lack of energy, not to be able to. It's not about listening to yourself. It's listening to your mind. Oh, this is outside is so cold. Here is so cozy. I'm just gonna stay in. That's easiness. Kindness is saying, oh, I'm really tired. I'm not sure if I can make it. I'm gonna give it a try. Even though I'm gonna might hurt myself. Kind of say, listen, don't do it today, do it tomorrow. Those are two different things. And unfortunately, lots of people are just getting too used, sometimes myself even. I'm not out of a I also carry my own, I'm not perfect. But sometimes people just let go, and then they can't come back to, and if to the first challenge, they go back. And if they go back, if you give your will to something or someone else, that something or someone else, it will control you. So it's all about being aware and in control, or trying to be as much as in control to your own life. That's my advice.
Yeah, exactly. Because it already takes a lot of time to change in general, and life is always a divine time. So if we also are part of the game of postponing, it's not going to happen very soon and be easy for sure. Then everything needs to be in the right time, whatever. But sometimes this is an excuse for definitely procrastinations. So
Sometimes also what happens is that on the other spectrum, there are people that are just too hard on themselves. And I know a lot of them, many of my clients, many people I know that are they just too hard on themselves. They always go at everything at 100%. And we have to understand, myself included, that, and I'm being much better. And at times there is that voice, oh, Paulo, you're procrastinating. You should do this. You should, the should, could, would. They all go in there. But sometimes it's like, no, be kind to yourself. You've done this, let it sink in. It's not that because how do I say, my default is to go all the time. And right now I'm at a stage of my life where I'm I can relax, I can do things. And I because all of my life I've been running after the carrot. I've been running out. And sometimes you're like, no, 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 I'm just going to enjoy. Once again, it's just about riding the wave. And we have to be respectful we have to play with the hand that we're dealt. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, yeah, beautiful. And so just going to close asking, how can people work with you? Where can they find you? What can they do with you in one-to-one sessions or groups?
They can find me in art and spirituality. They can find me on my website, which is www.holistic-coach.co.uk, www.holistic-coach.co.uk. And in my website, because says that we didn't even go to the, I think we are going to leave this the
For the second
regression
episode,
for a second
yes,
episode where I'm going to talk a bit more about regressions and the shamanic practice as
yes.
well. Because I'm a hypnotherapist, I am an astrologer, I'm a shamanic practitioner, and I'm a coach. And I mix all of those to help people because all of those tools help me in my journey. So as they help me, I study them and I start helping people. It's a bit like Kiran. But once again, we will talk about the more in depth about astrology and regression going forward. So yeah, that's where you can find me.
Perfect. And also Zen Corporate.
And Zen Corporate. Okay, let's Zen Corporate. So, to those of you that have been following Giada, you probably know about Zen Corporate. Zen Corporate is a branch of art and spirituality that is trying to reach the corporate world because Giada and I both come from the corporate world, and Rachel, as part of that, also came from the corporate world. That we're trying to reach and trying to, once again, try to crack their heads and be open to the corporate world, to what's out there. And because we have worked in there, we have a very particular set of skills, not like taken from Liam Neeson from Taken, but we have a particular set of skills that allows us to put this so-called invisible world into in a language that corporate will understand. Will it be an easy road? Nope, it won't be an easy road. It will take is and we are just building it, and I'm just very proud and thankful to Giada for this opportunity because I think Giada is a magnificent practitioner, magnificent shamanic practitioner.
Thank you,
I had
Paolo.
some shamanic sessions in my life, and Giada is one of the
You
top
are
three
talking to my
practitioners.
spirit guides, because let's not take the proud of that. It's not me, never me, it's always my spirits. So,
You and your team. So it's going to be you. It's going to be my teacher, Kifa. She's amazing. And I don't think there's top two maybe. Yeah. And I had many from different practitioners. So and Giada's team, which I don't know if it's Inter Milan or Milan, but doesn't matter.
Inter. In
Inter.
this
It's
house is always Inter.
Inter Milan spirit team has been very powerful. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity. And we shall see how it's gonna go. We're gonna do our best, and we're gonna try to open some minds. And because the truth is that once you see it, you can't unsee it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. Really, I have to exchange before closing the same exact words for when I had, of course, shamanic sessions with you. I had one hypnotherapy session with you, one astrology session with you. I mean, I still remember in the astrology sessions, you were just coming in and out from your reading with such a way of huge level of experience, and really easiness, in speaking about my charts in general and what we were going through. That, I mean, I can really say that it can rarely be found. So you get lots of people doing astrology, but at such level of confidence with the experience, and then also say do that on the spot, which is it requires a huge amount of experience, because as you said, this is such a vast topic that your 1% that you know is gorgeous. Is really already, it feels like 100.
Thank you.
Yes, so thank you. Thank you so much. I'm really, really looking forward to the second episode where we are going to choose a different topic, and dig in a little bit more, because there is so much fascinating. And we also want more people to be coming into our own invisible worlds, and also maybe start approaching this element of learning themselves, so that then there can be more people helping others.
Oh, absolutely. I think it's really important to have that open mindedness. And I'm always say, what's the worst thing that can happen?
Exactly. Exactly. So give it a try and just see and just allow the magic to unfold. Yes.
Great.
Yes. Thank you
Perfect.
so much,
Giada,
Paolo.
thank you
Thank you
so
so much
much.
again, and I'll see you soon.
I'll see you
Thank
soon.
you.
Take care.
Bye
Bye.
bye.